אשרי האיש אשר לא הלך בעצת רשעים ובדרך חטאים לא עמד ובמושב לצים לא ישב כי אם בתורת אדוני חפצו ובתורתו יגן יומם ולילה והיה כהד שתול על פלגי מים אשר פריו ייתן בעתו והלך לא ייבול וכל אשר יבשם יצליח לכן הרשעים כי אם כמוץ אשר תדפנו רוח על כן לא יקומו רשעים במשפט וחטאים בעדת צדיקים כי יודע אדוני דרך צדיקים ודרך רשעים תאבד.
לדוד מזמור, לאדוני הארץ ומלואה, תבל ויושביה, כי הוא על ימים יסדה, ועל נהרות יכונניה. מי יעלה בהר אדוני, ומי יקום במקום קדשו, נקי כפיים ובר לבב, אשר לא נשא לשווא נפשי ולא נשבע למרמה. The earth is the Lord's with all of its fullness. The world is the Lord's with all of its inhabitants. Who may ascend the mountain of the Lord? Who may stand in the holy place? She who has clean hands and a pure heart. She will receive a blessing from the Lord and a just reward from the God of deliverance. Mizmor LeDavid Adonai roi lo echsar binoteshe yarbitzeni almei menuchot yinahaleni nafshi yeshovev yancheni v'maglei tzedek laman shemo. Gam ki elech begates halmavet lo ira ra ki ata imadi. Shiftacha umishantecha hema yinachamuni. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He has me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He guides me on paths of righteousness. He revives me for the sake of his glory. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod, they comfort me. You set a table in sight of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall abide in the house of the Lord forever. When I first came to the synagogue, I would go each Shabbat. When I came to the sanctuary each Shabbat, certain things I could count on. Each week I would see the beautiful windows to the outside. I'd see the wonderful ark. I'd see the beautiful wooden paneling. And I'd see Sylvia Eigenfeld sitting in her seat because she came every Shabbat. I don't really have an eye for design, but Sylvia had an eye for those things. Sylvia had a good eye for things visual. In her home, she had the eye of a designer. Everything was put together in a certain way. Nothing of the interior of her home was done casually. She had special taste. She was also a buyer for the gift shop, clothing and jewelry, because she had that visual eye. And with everything she did, she knew what patterns would work well together. She knew what shapes worked together. She knew what colors could be matched together. I think that bringing things together, materials together, and bringing people together, that's what Sylvia, as the matriarch of your family, did. She brought the family together, her family. There was no larger, no bigger priority in her life than bringing the extended family together for Jewish holidays, for other holidays, for important observances. Judy and Nancy, you both said that your mom was introverted, even shy, but when it came time for family to be together, she spoke up. There was a March on Washington for Civil Rights, which was a cause your mother certainly advocated, but it was also Pesach, and the family needed to be together. And all of you knew you needed to be there. And Nancy, in 1964, the Beatles came to Cleveland. And you wanted to go. Desperately you wanted to go. And it was Kol Nidre. The Beatles, but on Kol Nidre. I don't know how your mom felt about the Beatles, but I know how she felt about Kol Nidre. And let's just say, Nancy, if you ever want to hear that concert, I can get you a recording, because you certainly weren't able to attend. Your mom gave both of you a lot of opportunities and shaped your interests in a way that would stay with you forever. Nancy, she encouraged and she fostered your artistic ability. Your talent in that area has stayed with you and has continued to enrich your life. And Judy, your mother, had a love of Judaism, a love of the synagogue that has also stayed with you forever. Your teaching, your dedication, your involvement in training women for services all came with a sense that your family, your mother in particular, loved being at Park Synagogue. And I know she also advocated for your many wonderful years at Camp Ramah, as well as music in your life. Your mother found solace at the synagogue on Shabbat and at other times. She was part of the sisterhood for so many years and worked hard for the Park Art Festival. I think we all want to know that our lives have impact. The construction worker who puts the bricks on the 40th floor is afraid that the professional who ultimately gets the office on the 40th floor will never think about what the construction worker who put it all together did. The city planner who works out intersections and traffic lights fears that thousands of drivers will drive through those intersections each day not realizing his or her careful work in planning the city. We all want to know that life matters and that life has a certain impact. We're afraid that our life's work is somehow invisible and will remain invisible. There will be nothing to point to. But for your mom, there is something that she could point to, and that's the two of you. She was very, very proud of both of you. You were her efforts. You were her, what she could point to, whether it was the artist in you, the musician in you and in your families, the lover of Judaism in you, the absolute dedication that I see in you striving to keep family together and connected to Judaism. These things are proof positive that Sylvia's impact is quite visible. She was shy, but she was a good friend to others. She became best friends in elementary school with Betty Wolvert, later Betty Ratner, and they were dedicated friends for a lifetime. And your families remain dear friends to this day. She met your father at a dance and later married for 47 years until his death. And they experienced and shared together the memories of watching you two move to adulthood and being proud of you. She worked in the volunteer gift shop of Suburban Hospital for 30 years and was busy with Isabel and Fanny in the store. Even in high school, she had experience working at May Company and Higbee's and Halley's. She had a great sense of humor, good timing, and a certain sense of whimsy, which, Judy, I think you have that same whimsy. Her childhood, she always remembered fondly. She loved her parents, close to her parents and her brother and sister. She was especially proud of David's work, his contributions to Webster's Dictionary and the Yiddish theater. She herself was an avid reader. She loved to read. Sylvia was 99 years old. It was a different time. It was a different era. It was a different world. The world changed many times over during her lifetime. She saw her own world change. She lost some very dear friends along the way. She also saw the beauty of having grandchildren, and she saw many of the cultural and artistic elements which she enjoyed passed on to the next generation. I know it was very important to you, Judy, to have your kids get to know your mom and to share time with your mom, and they did. If you were friends of Sylvia, you knew you were a friend for life. If you were in Sylvia's family, you knew she would hold you close as a family together for life. And if you were Sylvia's synagogue, you knew you had a loyal congregant and a lover of Judaism for life. I know she always carried herself with a sense of dignity and a sense of culture. That was just one of her trademarks, except one time I know she found out from her friend Betty that Betty gave birth to Chuck on Sylvia's birthday. They would share the same birthday. She promptly dropped all the china she was holding. You lost your mother and grandmother. Our goal in life is not to try to duplicate our parents' lives. That's not the purpose of life, is to duplicate their life. But it is to be guided, if we could, by their noble values. And if her values were family, friends, community, Judaism, those are certainly noble values to make sure that they remain in your life. In these final years, of course, her frailty increased. Her vulnerability increased. And yet, almost magically, she actually became stronger in a certain way. She became stronger in a certain way because she found she now had 4 arms, hers and Judy's. She had 4 legs, hers and Judy's. She had 2 pairs of shoulders, hers and Judy's. What you did as caretaker for your mother is also not meant to be invisible. You speak somewhat softly like your mother did, but your deeds and your actions speak loudly and clearly. You, Nancy, have fulfilled the commandment of honoring thy father and thy mother. Your father, who you both admired during his lifetime for the great model he gave to you in terms of career and other items, but also for your mom, who depended upon you with each passing year. She lived with a good name, and she died with a good name. Judy, you're going to come up and say your words.
My mom had an incredibly full and long life. And in that life, the biggest impression she made on this world was the ability to shape the lives of those around her in a positive way. My mom was the oldest of 3. Her brother David was 5 years younger. Her sister Beatrice was 8 years younger. The family only spoke Yiddish. Her grandmother lived with them, and Ma shared a room with her. My grandfather Julius was a union man, Ladies Garment Workers Union, and my grandmother Rose was a sweet and loving influence on her daughter. When Ma started school, she spoke only Yiddish. Really, she went into kindergarten saying that she wanted to keichel with the pillow. But she was bright and eager to learn, and she picked up English easily. She had a huge passion for reading. She taught David to read, and he used those lessons to become the editor of Webster's New World Dictionary. Growing up, Ma paid attention to the rituals of Jewish celebration. As she progressed through her life, she realized the impact she could have on family rituals, holidays, and synagogue had on her keeping the family together. She hosted extended family events for 60-plus years and created a home strong in Jewish practices and values with my father Maury. Ma made Shabbat every Friday night, inviting family and friends. The outcome was a strong bond between generations, grandparents, aunts and uncles, cousins and friends. Ma, through observance and practice, kept our extended family together. What my mother gave me was a sense of commitment and to make sure that those bonds continue l'dor vador. I also, before closing, just want to thank many people who cared about my mom, but 2 people I really want to recognize are Verdi Artegas and Judy Lifton, not for their caretaking only, but because they became part of her family. Ma's legacy is my gift. I'm happy to carry on these traditions, and in doing so, to honor my mom.
Is there, I'm told a cousin may have a few words, or please come forward.
As you will hear, there are a number of themes throughout Syl's life that, without any of us sharing what we're going to say, are pretty much the same. It is with great honor that I stand before you today with the opportunity to share with you some of my memories of the matriarch of our family, Aunt Syl, my godmother. She created many moments throughout my family's life that are memorable, and personally she was very supportive and never once was critical of me. She was always there for support. My relationship started with Aunt Syl over 67 years ago, when I was born on Nancy's birthday. The planning that occurred between my mother, Beatsy, and sister Aunt Syl was incredible. Who could have planned such an event and have it turned out as planned, being born on Nancy's birthday? And to this day, Nancy and I share this date and remind each other of our ages year after year. Nancy did get my age wrong a couple of times, but that's okay. She still remembers our birth date. With this memory, a lifetime of love and memories was started. The relationship with Nancy and Judy has been supportive and loving because Aunt Syl was the type of person who accepted responsibility and commitment and had the Jewish faith as a foundation to everything she did. For me and my family, Aunt Syl would have Shabbat dinners from the time I was born until she moved from her house in Saybrook in University Heights. This was the family tradition, and we would never miss a Friday night together. My family lived in Warren, an hour and 15-minute drive each way, and we would drive every Friday. This was how Aunt Syl helped establish the value of family and provided the avenue to support the efforts of having a close-knit family. I am sure that the patriarch of the family, Grandpa Julius, Uncle Dave, Beatsy, and Aunt Syl's father established the value of family, and they were all very committed to continue the tradition of family solidarity. There were periods throughout our lives when life was difficult, yet our family seemed to be there to support each other and to have fun together and address all concerns in a very helpful and supportive way. Aunt Syl and Uncle Maury were very open and supportive to us. I had difficulty in my first year of college, and they offered their house for me to live in with them while I took some time to figure out what I was going to do next, as I attended college for one semester here in Cleveland. Uncle Dave was the same way. It was a trait of our family to be supportive, helpful, and not ask a lot of questions, but to feel that, with time and the support of the family, better decisions would be made and the path toward success would be found. My mom, Beatsy, passed away about 2 years ago. The previous 6 years, she suffered from a serious stroke, which took away her ability to talk, walk, and care for herself. She had to relearn how to swallow so she could feed herself, yet her attitude was always positive. Much of this positive attitude I attributed to the support of Aunt Syl. They would see each other every day because Aunt Syl resided in Wiggins and Mom was in Stone Gardens. They spent time together over lunch, eating together, sometimes the only time they would eat. I remember one trait that occurred every time they ate together. Aunt Syl, being the older sister, would tell Beatsy to eat with your mouth closed. This was family. This support was made possible due to the aid that my mom had, Judy and Verdi and the others, who were with my mom every day and grew to love Aunt Syl. When our mom passed, Judy was asked to care for Syl, and since they already had a relationship, the transition was easy for Syl. She became much more social and got involved in the activities of Menora Park, and Syl seemed to enjoy her involvement in the community thanks to Judy and Verdi getting her up and out every day. The last 6 years of my mom's life, I saw Aunt Syl a couple of times a month. Until recently, I still would come in because Aunt Syl, Until recently, I still would come in because Aunt Sil, as she aged, she looked more and more like Mom. There was an incredible likeness between the two of them. I am honored to have this opportunity to talk a bit about my Aunt Sil and her family, her daughters, her sister and brother, and how family was so important to them. I will miss her very much.
Aunt Sil was my other mother, and like my mother, she was a friend also. I could always depend on her for objective advice. She was sweet, gentle, honest, and had many lifetime friends that she would speak with on a daily, if not weekly basis. Betty, Isabel, Fanny, Sylvia, to name a few of her closest, not to forget Teresa and Verdi, who worked for her like a combined 80 years. Aunt Sil was a real lady. She was elegant and soft-spoken, with ne'er a harsh word, and a unique sense of humor where she could have people in stitches seemingly unintentionally, but those close knew better. Besides her friends, family was a ruling force. She hosted Shabbat dinners every week, and of course her Passover Seders were renowned. She was a big daddy's girl and loved her brother and sister to the nth degree. There was nothing she wouldn't do for them or their spouses and children. I lived with her for years to be able to go to a private school that was too far to commute from Warren, and she treated me as her own son. I learned to be quiet and introspective from Aunt Sil. That has helped me to grow and be the person I am today, and I will forever be grateful to Aunt Sil for those lessons.
Okay.
I wasn't planning on speaking today, but there was one thing that I felt needed to be said about Grandma and hasn't quite been articulated yet. She had a capacity to love that I think we all learned from, and to love unconditionally. I remember when, it's funny, we talk about her sense of design and we talk about all the, that was true. When you went over her house, it was like a museum, but that wasn't the thing. The thing was that she unconditionally loved all of us. And that was something I think that got passed down through the generations and that we all learned from. I remember Jory and I, when we lived in Warren, we lived in this house that was like 4 stories tall. It was kind of a weird house. And we lived at the top. So we were 2 or 3 stories from where the entrance was. But we always knew when Grandma was going to show up because she had this really particular perfume. And so you would smell it throughout the house as soon as she walked in the front door. And Jory and I, we would get so excited because we smelled that smell. We knew Grandma was there. We'd go, Grandma's here. And we would go down, and she just sort of enveloped us. The other thing I remember was, in my work, I've come to really love cities. That really, in many ways, came from Grandma. She would, they mentioned she worked at May Company building and all these sorts of things. She would take us downtown. And she would take us particularly around the holidays. Yes, she was Jewish, but she also loved like all the stuff that would happen at Higbee's with the tree and the twig bee shop and the silver grill and all that kind of stuff. She really loved that stuff. She would take us and we would go down there and we would experience what a city was like. And I thought it was New York City. I'm coming from Warren. I thought it was New York City. And she was just amazing that way. But she loved. And I just hope we all can learn from the way that she not only brought us together, but in her own way just unconditionally loved all of us. Thank you.
Let's rise now for the memorial prayer.
Sylvia, but Yona, right? Yes. Elam alei rachamim Shachayna b'ramim Hametz
נכונם, תחת כנפי השכינה, במחלות קדושים ודהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מסגירים, את נשמת סילביה בת יונה, שגלחה לעולמה, בגן עדן תחי מנוחתה. אנא בבל הרחמים, אז תראה בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, ותצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתם, אדוני נחלתם, ותנוח בשלום על משכבם, ונאמר Amen.
May we remember all of the worthy and the righteous deeds that she performed in the land of the living. God is now her portion. May she rest in peace. And we all say Amen. Let's be seated. We want to offer our condolences to the family, to Judy and Rick, to Nancy and Bob, to Ari and Jessica and Jory and Megan, and to grandson Theo. The family will receive friends for the Shiva visitation at the Tudor Arms Hotel today following services and until 8 p.m. tonight. Tudor Arms Hotel, 10660 Carnegie Avenue, 10660 Carnegie Avenue. Today following the burial portion of the service and continuing until 8 p.m. Monday and Tuesday from 2 to 4 p.m. and 6 to 8 p.m. Let's remain in our seats for another moment. The pallbearers, however, should now come forward as we arrange the processional to the burial spot.